Later today, the Inkatha Freedom Party, the IFP, is expected to launch its manifesto at the Greyville Racecourse in Durban. This as political parties canvass for voter support in the run-up to the local government elections that are scheduled to take place on the 1st of November. IFP's national spokesperson, Mkhuleko Hlengwa, joins us now to talk about the launch of this manifesto. Good to see you. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you and to the viewers at home.
So ready, all systems go, I can imagine. I mean, even before the election was gazetted and we didn't know if the elections were going to be taking place or not this year, the IFP had said you guys are ready either way. So talk to us now. How ready are you for this?
We are very ready. I think we must say that in as much as we had wanted the elections postponed for health considerations, we did set into motion plans and preparations for candidate selection, and that is why we met the deadline and did not need to come in through the back window, as some did. And now it is all systems go. This morning, we will be launching our campaign bus, which is consistent with the commitments we had made in 2019 at our conference of our town-to-town and village-to-village and city-to-city campaign. You will recall that in 2019, shortly after conference, we had begun on our provincial visits by the national leadership, and that was interrupted by the COVID-19 realities. Be that as it may, our structures have been interacting and engaging with communities. And so tonight we're going to be presenting a 10-point plan manifesto, which is responding directly to the issues of local government, ensuring that they are functional and that they are effective. And of course, we also have to report back as the IFP because we are in government in 10 municipalities as well. So from our side, it is all systems go. Our structures have been briefed and prepped on how to campaign to respect the COVID protocols because we fundamentally believe that lives come before votes, but we're also not going to actually sit back and not engage in these elections. We are going to be presenting a credible and viable alternative manifesto so that we can improve and continue improving where we govern the collective lived realities of our people. So the IFP is election ready and we are all systems go for today.
Just talk to us again. I know you mentioned the amount of municipalities in the country that the IFP is going to contest, but perhaps give us a little bit more. Just outline it for us. I'm hoping it wasn't lost. Where exactly, how many are the IFP going out and contesting?
We are contesting in 105 municipalities across the country and fielding some over 2,540 candidates. We will be doing this, of course, consistent again with our national expansion program, which we have taken very, very seriously because we've recognized that the IFP is a needed voice across the length and breadth of our country. And so we are making significant strides in establishing IFP structures across the country and recruiting membership. And the culmination of that at this point has been our ability to contest in the municipalities I've cited, which is a huge increase, of course, from what we have previously done.
Let's talk a little bit about, I suppose, one of the points now. We've always known the face of the party and the face of the elections, Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, even though the new leader, IFP President Mkhuleko Hlengwa, is there at the helm. But in terms of delivering the party's manifesto, who is going to be doing it today?
President Hlengwa will be delivering the IFP Manifesto this evening, and I was with him actually last night as he put the final touches to his presentation, and he is raring to go. And we are also quite blessed, of course, that our founding president and President Emeritus Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, South Africa statesman, will also be delivering a message as part and parcel of the leadership transition. And of course, you will recall that the commitments of 2016 were made under his leadership as president. And so therefore, it's important for him to see through that the commitments of that time are actually reported back upon correctly. And so as a party, we fundamentally believe that we are under the right mentorship and we are under the right leadership. And President Hlengwa is actually delivering the manifesto this evening, and we'll be launching the campaign bus this morning at 10:30 in Durban, Blue Lagoon. So all those issues are quite, functional as far as the party is concerned, and there are no problems on our side. The relationship between the two leaders is very healthy, and we appreciate the fact that Prince Buthelezi is readily available at any point to actually give guidance and to continue ensuring that the party he founded, in one way or the other, he plays a role to ensure its sustainability and viability into the future.
So there has been a lot of concern and people asking questions. Why, during the time of the run-up to these elections, why is it the face of the prince that is all over, and that is the face of the elections, whereas there is a new leader in place at the helm? So it just appears that there's just that little bit of, I don't know, is it tension or not? Perhaps you can explain it to us. Why use the prince's face and not your actual leader's face? What is this all about?
Well, at the conference in 2019, one of the issues that the conference resolved on was around the imagery of the party. President Hlabisa then in 2020 actually determined that we would be celebrating and honoring the legacy of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. So it was the year of the Prince, to thank him for his role, to thank him for his contribution, and to also assure him that the party was well set on a trajectory of continuation. COVID-19 interrupted those plans, and so this year, President Hlabisa requested that we resuscitate that determination, and it was his suggestion, in fact, that as part of honoring the Prince and as part of dedicating ourselves to his work and thanking him for his work, we would do that. So there is absolutely no tension here, and I would want to allay the collective anxieties of all our pundits, and our membership is actually quite happy about this, and President Hlabisa is quite comfortable with the arrangements, and as I'm saying, that by and large the proposals on these issues, one, are a conference resolution, but secondly, President Hlabisa himself has actually made these requests. So and of course there is, Leanne, you would see in other layouts and designs of party paraphernalia and on our online platforms and on our graphics, that we are at times using both images of the founding president and the current president. So as far as we are concerned, and I can assure you, within the party, there is absolutely no problem.
Yeah. There have been, and again, I'm glad we're talking about this, because it is important to get the messaging and the imaging out, and who leads the IFP and what direction it is all in, because the voters out there, they want to know, and some people feel and have called the current president a stooge president, but the leadership is still held by the prince himself. What role does the prince actually have within the party, and what is the relationship between the president and the prince at this stage?
Well, there is absolutely no basis or any substance to the reference to President Hlabisa being a stooge president. I can assure you that he is very much at the helm of the operations of the party and in leading the party. Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi plays an advisory role in the party. You'll recall, Leanne, that the prince led the party for 44 years. And therefore, the leadership transition that we are currently engaged on is the first time that the party is changing leadership. This is something we need to do with utmost care, and this is something that we need to satisfy ourselves in, that it will not arise in any problems moving forward. So Prince Buthelezi, as I'm saying, plays an advisory role, guidance role, as determined by the conference, but most importantly, none of the powers, functions and responsibilities of the president have been transferred to the president emeritus. Therefore, President Hlabisa enjoys the full constitutional rights, powers, functions and responsibilities as prescribed by the IFP Constitution, and amongst others, that's why he will be delivering the manifesto this evening. But more so, as I'm saying, that the fact that Prince Buthelezi is on our posters is us thanking him. It's a dedication to him. And as far as we are concerned, the posters must run in tandem with the manifesto. So he has been the torchbearer. He was the man with the vision. And so we are saying to him, with the manifesto we are delivering tonight, rest assured, Shenge, the work that you started is in good hands, and we are going to continue with it in the service of the people. Therefore, there is no problem, there is no tension. And President Hlabisa is not a stooge president. Leanne, as the IFP, we have always endeavored to be transparent, and I will be the first one in my capacity as spokesperson to indicate when there are problems as and when questions are put to us, because we are a public entity, we are a public good, and therefore the public must enjoy the full confidence of our honesty and our transparency. And so as things stand now, there's absolutely no problem, and we are publicly accountable.
Yeah. So we always talk about factions within political parties, and when we read up about, I know you had your executives meeting, your NEC meeting ahead of the manifesto launch. I think it was on Monday, and we've seen the manifesto being launched today. And there seems to be two clear ideas of the divisions within the party. So you get the one faction, which is what I'm gathering is called the KKK, which is the Konke Kuhamba Kahle, which is basically meaning why change. So there's the faction that say, why change? The party's doing great. Why should we change when we still have, this way that's working with the prince? And then there's the second faction that's basically saying, or it's the AU, and it's Abuseko Ubumzina, which basically means no more problems as we have a new leadership. Let's rather look forward. So there's a very sort of a definite understanding of these two factions. But how divided is these factions, and how divided is the party?
Then I have never laughed as hard as I did when I read that article yesterday.
Good. I'm glad you're clarifying it.
Yeah, I spoke to that journalist, and he... Look, there's no love lost between the IFP and Willem Pungula and his rumor mongering and his stompies. Leanne, let me publicly take ownership and responsibilities of the so-called factions. The Triple Ks and the AUs emerged at the time when the youth was going to its conference. It was leadership preference when I was the chairperson of the Youth Brigade, and my very good friend and brother, Comrade Thabo Xaba, was also the other contestant for the position. That is when that emerged. And as far as we are concerned, you've got people riding a wave they do not know anything about. The mischaracterizations of the NEC's meetings in that report are at best laughable, and at worst, the worst kind of journalism I have ever seen. So as far as we are concerned as a party, yes, we do have the challenges of any party insofar as differences in opinions, in outlook, and of course in policy matters which conferences must resolve. Those do not mean that the party is at war. And the fact that you will recall a few months ago, President Hlabisa came out very strongly to warn against factional tendencies in the party, precisely for the reason that at the leadership level, we do not have these problems. There's a healthy working relationship. But what will happen, Ian, is we are going to have robust discussions, and we are going to have robust interactions. But the party is not going to be defined by the discussions that it has insofar as how it moves forward. It will be defined by ultimately the decisions that it has taken. And so those decisions that we are taking are the ones which are the alpha and omega of the party's direction. So what I do want to categorically say is that any act of factionalism is a constitutional transgression, and anybody who engages in it is inviting disciplinary processes. And we are not going to hesitate to implement disciplinary processes against people who want to derail the historic mission of service that the IFP is engaged in.
Well, thank you for responding to that. That, of course, in response to an article that is doing the rounds on IOL. It's by journalist Willem Pungula. So that's the response from the IFP to this talk of factions and what's been happening within the ranks. All right, I know I've got to let you go soon, but at the end of the day, talk to us about the manifesto launch, details about it. Time, obviously, I know you said right up front that you're sticking to the COVID rules that are in place, so it will be obviously online as well as in person. But you tell us talk us through the details.
Yes, Leanne, definitely. We certainly believe in walking our talk and talking our walk, and we quite are surprised that you would have leaders and parties engaged in manifesto launches which are in direct contradiction with the COVID-19 protocols as determined by government. And so that is quite a shame that including the President of the Republic actually on Monday presided over a super spreader event in the manner that it did. The IFP Manifesto launch is taking place within the determinations of the lockdown regulations, 250 individuals or persons in an indoor event, and we'll be streaming this in parts of the country in our structures. And of course, the media will be also covering the event live this evening. And we're then going to be having an outdoor event in the same evening of 500 persons, again consistent with the COVID-19 protocols. The manifesto launch begins tonight at 5 o'clock and will go right up to 7 o'clock in the formal session, and then the informal session will start promptly at about 7:10 to 9 o'clock in an outdoor setting tonight. This at the Greyville Racecourse Convention Center, and this morning the IFP will be launching its campaign bus, which will take place at 10:30 at the Blue Lagoon. The final point that I want to make clear and to the viewers, we are calling on the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal specifically to desist and disabuse itself of tendencies of intolerance which may actually render problems for these elections. Yesterday, the IFP was campaigning in parts of Umlazi, Malgazi, informal settlement, amongst others, and the ANC just went out to disrupt, to cause problems, to intimidate, etc., etc. The same behavior that we saw when the leader of the EFF was in Guatambuza in Pietermaritzburg. The ANC must not render these elections to problems and to tensions, and we want elections as the IFP that are free and fair and free from fear. There are no-go areas in South Africa. These undemocratic and dictatorial tendencies of the ANC are actually of serious concern to us, and the IEC must assert its authority and enforce the code of conduct and sanction where it is necessary. And the leadership of the ANC must rein in its members. We are not going to have an election where there is provocation, and it is clear now that the common denominator in all instances of violence and tensions is the ANC. These elections are about the people, and the people must be allowed an opportunity to hear the various voices, solutions, and alternatives that are being presented, including but not limited to that of the IFP. So what we saw yesterday and in previous weeks is totally unacceptable, and we condemn it in the strongest possible terms.
All right, we leave it there. Thank you for being with us. IFP National Spokesperson Mkhuleko Hlengwa talking to us about the party's plans ahead of unveiling its election manifesto that will be taking place. And of course, 5 o'clock is when it'll start. No doubt SABC News having that one covered for you as well. Let's take